Hey folks, this is Dave Wood talking to you from my home office out in the mountains in Costa Rica. Wanted to welcome every single person who's on this call to the call tonight, wherever you're calling from in the world. It's always fascinating doing these and seeing the phone numbers that dial in because we've got people who dial into these calls every single Monday from literally more than 20 countries all around the world. And it just goes to show the power of an idea and the power of an idea whose time has come. You know, when we launched this company out of a sweaty little hotel room with about 30 people in it, we didn't dream that it would expand around the world this quickly and get so many people engaged and involved from so many different ethnic backgrounds with so many different belief systems, so many different people who were looking for something, they were looking for a way to really be able to change their life. And that's what Empower Network is all about. That's what this community is all about. It's what this vision is all about. It's about empowering you to be the best that you can be. It's about empowering you to be able to make the money that you've always wanted to make in your life. Just so everybody here knows, you know, a lot of people now today, I've kind of reached this status where people think that I've been successful forever now, and sometimes they don't remember that when I started this business back in 2002, I literally failed for 3.5 years straight in my first company. I quit that company. I failed for another 2.5 years, and then finally had a little smidgen of success. That organization fell apart, and then it took me all the way from 2002 right up until 2009 when I got online to really have a breakthrough. And so I want to reach out to every single person on the call. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you've been successful before or not. I don't care if you've made $1 million a year before, if you've only made $1 in the industry, or if you're still struggling to sponsor your first person. This can work for you, and it can work for you, period. And the reason it can is because you have right now everything inside of you that you need to succeed in this moment. Tonight what I wanted to do is something a little bit different. I want to talk to you all because a lot of people on this call, obviously you're in Empower Network, you're involved with us already. Some of you on the call, you just kind of like tapping into our training calls and seeing how many secrets you can steal and apply to whatever other business you're in. Whatever group you're in, it's okay, it's fine. I'm going to speak to you both. What I want to do is I want to talk about the transition that I went through that helped me tap into my marketing genius and really made the difference to where I went from literally struggling, not getting any results, to where I was curled up next to my wife crying one night because I was probably making an average of 1 cent an hour, 18 hours a day when I first got online, and I literally was about to quit, and I took from that moment, from something she said to me, I'm going to talk about a little bit later on tonight, I literally made a change inside, and 90 days later, 90 days, folks, it took me from 90 days from making an average of 1 cent an hour, and I wasn't earning 100% commissions like you guys are earning. It took me 90 days and 90 days only to start making $30,000 a month. In fact, I went and I made $30,000 one month. The very next month, I made more than $45,000, and it was all from what I'm going to teach you tonight. Moreover, from what I'm going to teach you tonight, we just had a gentleman in Empower Network, Justin Varengia. A lot of you have seen his story. You guys saw a couple of weeks ago he was visiting my place in Costa Rica, and he almost drowned. It's right on the front of the Empower Network blog, and luckily, of course, he didn't drown. But, you know, prior to that conversation and prior to visiting him, he'd never really made a tremendous amount of money before in his business. And because of a shift that happened to him that I'm going to be talking about how to have tonight, because of that shift, this month in Empower Network already, he's made over $18,000. He's on track to hit about $25,000 this month only in the month of July. Previous to this, he'd never made more than $5,000 a month with us. Folks, what I'm going to teach you tonight works. This is the same principle, folks, that allows people to pay their mortgage part-time, working a business from home. It's the same principle that allowed Lawrence in our launch month. A lot of people don't realize. They say, Lawrence, oh God, you're like this God now. You've made hundreds of thousands of dollars working very part-time. How did you do that? Well, something happened inside of him where he was able to tap into his power, and you know what happened is his first 45 days in Empower Network, he made $50,000. He was part-time, he was an engineer, and he started making so much money from his business part-time that when he was laid off just a couple months ago from work, he was literally making 5 times as much part-time as he did full-time from work. Folks, this works in different languages, it works in different countries, it works with different products, and if you listen, it'll work for you, okay? So, first of all, I want to go back a little bit in my story, and I want to talk about a couple of victories and breakthroughs that I had, and then through the course of this call, I'm going to teach you how to do certain things in a way that's very compelling and hypnotic in your marketing, but more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to reach down inside yourself and unlock the power that you didn't know that you had so you can literally have the breakthrough that you want so desperately in your business. I got started, like I said, in 2002. And this is the way I got started in the network marketing industry. Got a phone call from my brother Will. Today, my brother Will, he's a hypnotherapist, and he's a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming. Well, then, he was going to college, and he called me up on the phone. I'd just gotten off of a mission trip for about 2 years, and he said, Dave, you're coming over to my house on Thursday night. You and I are going to be rich. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever got a phone call like that and been a little bit resistant to it. Well, for me, I've never been resistant to nothing. He called me and he said, we're going to be rich, and I said, I'm there. What are we getting into? So he invited me over to his house. I had no clue why I was going. He wouldn't tell me what it was. He refused to tell me the name of the company. He refused to tell me what he was talking about. I said, Will, what is it? I want to get in. And he said, I can't tell you. You got to come to my house on Thursday. I said, well, what are we doing? Are we selling something? Are we starting a business? He said, you got to come over to my house on Thursday. And so, you know what? I showed up at his house, and my brother sat there in a suit and a tie with a whiteboard in his living room that was literally like, it was kind of smashed between two couches, you know what I mean? And you know, there's barely enough room to sit down. There's a couple more guests there, and he rambled for the next 3.5 hours. I think it was, you know, like 7 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock p.m. And I sure was not, I still wasn't aware of what the heck he was talking about by the time he was through. But by the end of that presentation, I said, I don't know what we're getting into. I have no clue what we're selling. I don't know how this works. But if you're telling me that 5 get 5 get 5 and we're going to be rich selling soap and vitamins, I'm in. So I got involved in Amway back in 2002, and I didn't know what to do to succeed. You know, I'd never done network marketing before. I'd never attempted anything like this before. And so I called my upline. I called my sponsor. I called the guy who was supposed to be a mentor to me, and I said, you know, what am I supposed to do? And he said, well, it's real easy, Dave. I want you to pull out a pen. I want you to pull out a piece of paper. I want you to make a list of your family and friends and invite them over to your house for a meeting. I said, Dennis. It's a guy named Dennis Osterdock. Great guy, by the way. I said, Dennis, you got to take a few steps back here, and there's a few things that's wrong with this formula. And he said, well, what's wrong with the formula? I said, well, I just got off of a mission trip, and all my friends are still missionaries, and they're all poor and don't have jobs, the ones who are home. I said, so that's the first problem with this, and the other friends I haven't talked to in 2 years, if I talk to them about a business, it's going to seem awkward. But the other problem is all the other friends that I've got, they're in Alaska, and I live in Phoenix, and I don't have a home. I have an apartment. It has no furniture, so I can't really get them over to my house unless they can buy a plane ticket and fly from Alaska to Phoenix. It's not going to work. What do I do if I don't have any family and friends? He said, well, you got to get some new friends. So I said, okay, how do you do that? And he said, well, you know, go to Walmart, Safeway, you know, wander around, right? So I said, I put on a suit and a tie, you know, I thought that's what you're supposed to do, and I proceeded to wander around a lot in my business for the next couple of years because I didn't know any better, you know, and this is the truth, folks, is, you know, I can admit where I'm weak and I can admit where I'm strong. Sometimes I'll just listen to people and I'll just do exactly what they say, you know. I'll just listen to exactly what they teach me to do, and I won't question it, sometimes my own detriment, you know. So I just listen. I wander around in Walmart, wander around in Safeway. I think I got kicked out of every single Walmart in Phoenix, Arizona, at least one time, sometimes 2 or 3 times, and I'd go back in and they'd say, it's that guy, get him out. You know, I was the guy in the suit, you know, carrying around the spear or something looking for prospects because, you know, I didn't know that marketing existed. I didn't know that there was a way to get prospects coming to you. I didn't know that there was a way to hypnotically persuade your prospects to want to join so bad that their forehead's literally sweating and their heart's pounding and their hands feel clammy because they just want to pull out their credit card and buy. I didn't know that 7 years later that I would literally be sponsoring people on autopilot while I was on vacation in Bora Bora sinking my toes into the hot sand. I had no conception and no idea that there was a way to do this so powerfully that people would literally pick up the phone and beg you to join your business. I didn't know that you could make $1,000 a day doing nothing right now. I thought it took 2 to 4 years, so hell, let's wander around in Walmart, right? So I did that for about 3.5 years. At the end of 3.5 years, I didn't get 5 who get 5 who get 5 like they showed in the whiteboard. I think I got about 5 total, right? So I was making about $2.50 3 years later. And then I finally got up the courage and I said, okay, I'm going to quit this thing and try something else. So I jumped to a new business and I blamed the company. I said, well, you know, I'm not successful, so it must be Amway's fault. Of course, isn't it interesting today how this is exactly what I see other people doing, even though I tell them this. When somebody doesn't succeed, when somebody doesn't get the results that they want, when somebody does not have the breakthrough that they want, you know what they do is they blame the company, they blame the product, they blame the comp plan, they blame their upline, just like I did back in 2005. You know, I said, my upline, he didn't know what he was talking about. It's it's the company's fault, it's the product's fault. But now I got to look back and I got to say, well, I'm not in Amway today and I don't want to go around selling soap and vitamins. It's just not my thing, and I don't really want to do home meetings. I'd prefer to do this in a way that's compelling and natural for me, and I really like doing things through video on the internet. Well, I don't want to do that. There certainly are a lot of successful people in Amway, and I can't blame the company, can I? I mean, look how many people are making $1 million a year in that thing. I can't even believe how many people are successful at it. So I can't blame the company. So what was the problem? Well, the problem was me, right? The problem was me. And just like with you, if you're willing to look in the mirror and realize that all the people succeeding have the same company, same product, same opportunity, same technology as you, that probably the reason why you're succeeding or not is you. Isn't that a fascinating discovery? Well, I didn't discover it then. I went on and I joined a new deal, recruited my Amway team into it. We all went crazy. And, of course, I made a little bit of money, and then the next month made nothing. And then I blamed that company, quit that company. I said, I'm going to find a startup deal. Well, finally, a couple years later, I found a startup deal. I found one. I got called from my brother, and he said, Dave, I know Amway didn't work, and I know that other deal didn't work, but, Dave, I got something for you. And I said, is it a startup? He said, yeah. I said, I'm in. I'm going to be on the ground floor. So this is actually the true story of how I got involved in the first company where I had any success. I was living in Hawaii at the time, working on the north shore of Oahu in a place called Turtle Bay. Some of you guys have been there that have traveled through to Hawaii. And I got a call from my brother to join this deal. I actually joined, right? But I wasn't going to do anything. I was just kind of screwing around. And then I talked to my brother. Some of you guys know him. His name's Aki Wood. He's also an online marketer. And I talked to my brother and I said, Aki, you got to check this thing out with me. There's a meeting in town. He's like, Dave, I'm so sick of joining these stupid things. We just join them, and then before we have success, we quit and join another. I said, I know, but this one's ground floor. So he said, okay, I'll go to the meeting to humor you. And this is the true story. I wasn't really into it. I wasn't going to build it. I just kind of, dropped $1,000 or whatever. Like a lot of you get in something, you drop 1,000, and then you go and get in something else, like 6 months later, thinking that it's the thing's fault, not you, like I'm saying. And then anyways, I dropped the money, and I was messing around. And then we went to this meeting. See, most people, they get excited when they see a giant meeting with lots of people in it, right? That's what gets most people excited. They say, wow, this thing's hot. It's got social proof. Look at all the stories. Look at all the testimonials. But we went to this meeting in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I can't remember the name of the place. It's like in the center of town, connected to the mall. It's this hotel that's there. And we went in this meeting, and the meeting sat about 300 people. Somebody had rented out the hotel in downtown Hawaii. It was the most expensive hotel to rent out down there. And there were like 5 people in the room. I mean, there's 5 of us, and the company had flown out to do a meeting, and 5 people showed up to this meeting, right? But most people, they would have got up and said, this is, whatever. But my brother looked at me, and he said, there ain't nobody in this thing. This is ground floor. I'm in. So we got started in that company. Now, here's what happened, and this is the distinguishing moment where I never again was able inside to blame somebody else for my own success, blame anybody other than me for my failure. Here's what happened. That company blew up. I mean, it just exploded with growth. Hundreds of thousands of people joined it. I saw people go from nothing to $20,000 a month, $20,000 a month to $80,000 a month. I saw it open in 15 countries and then 40 countries and open to the whole European Union. And people come in who would never have success, make $50,000 a month in their first 6 months. I'd seen all this happen, all the while I was failing. So all of a sudden I was put in this position where I looked out and I said, it ain't the company, it ain't the products, it's me. And what I did was I looked inside myself and I found something that I didn't know that I had, humility. And I called up the richest person I knew and I said, what do I do? And all of a sudden the game changed. All of a sudden I was able to do things I was never able to do. All of a sudden sponsoring became easy. Now, I wasn't sponsoring 2 people a day. I wasn't sponsoring people on autopilot. I still wasn't sponsoring people automatically, whether I worked or not. But sponsoring became easy. All of a sudden, I could do it. All of a sudden, what I couldn't do, all of a sudden I could do. Why? Because I reached down inside myself. I found something that I didn't know that I had, put my ego on the back burner, and I said, okay, how do I do this thing? And all of a sudden, the teachers started to appear. And I had some success. Built a team of like 1,000 people there, and it was a lot of fun. But I still didn't like it. You know, and some of you guys, you're going to have to go through this. You're not willing to listen. You're not going to listen to what I'm going to say in this. You're not going to be listening to all the things and all the nuggets that I'm going to drop over to you for the next 30, 45 minutes, and you're going to go do exactly the opposite of what I'm going to tell you to do, even though that if you stop, listen, pay attention, put your ego to the side and be willing to run with us for the next 90 days, I can help you change your life faster than you could do on your own in the next 10 years. Even though that's the case, some of you are saying, yeah, whatever, I'm a hot rod. Even though you failed for the last 5, even though I make it more every single 3 hours than you make in a month, right? Doing a lot less work, believe you me. Today my day was mostly composed of refreshing screen and seeing my commissions go up. So guys, here's what you need to do. You need to stand up and look at yourself and be honest. Be honest. Be willing to look at yourself and admit the weakness. Admit where you're weak. You know, Dave Sharp, my business partner here at Empower, is one of the greatest people I ever met in my life. And, you know, he's been in recovery. He talks about it all the time because he does that, by the way, so he keeps himself accountable, right, because he knows where he's weak. He admits, right, his weakness and his flaws. He's been in recovery for the last, 4 years. But you know one of the first steps in recovery that I'm always hearing from Dave, he's always talking about, you know what it is? You got to be willing to admit and confess when there's a problem. See, most people will blame every single person and every single influence in the universe but themselves, right? I see people blame God for stuff, like God sitting around, like laughing at them, rolling dice and making them fail and giving Satan a high five in the background, right? I mean, this is what they do, right? People blame God. People blame their parents. People blame their upline. People blame the company. They blame the products. They blame the comp plan. They blame oh, well, my sponsor won't pick up the phone, so I can't succeed because I need a sponsor who's there all day picking up the phone, right? They blame the training system. They blame everything but themselves. They blame everything but themselves. And what I'm telling you to do is not to blame yourself. That's different. What I'm telling you to do is to admit that your success and failure is created and caused by nothing but you. And the second you take responsibility from that, you're empowered. You are empowered. Who are we? We're the Empower Network, so it's useful for me to tell you to take responsibility. Take responsibility for your own success. Take responsibility for your own responsibility to what you're able to create and what you're not able to create in your life. You know, it's fascinating looking out into the world and looking at the deep-rooted ability we have to impact the world around us. Now, I'm not going to get mystical here because, to be honest, I don't know how anything works, right? I don't know how anything in the afterlife works, if there is an afterlife. I don't know how any of it works. But here's what I know. I know that somehow, magically, mystically, if you would, or scientifically, I don't know how it works. Maybe there's a quantum mechanical thing behind it. It seems that people create in their life exactly what they're expecting all the time. It's unbelievable. I can't believe how consistent this is. You know, we have people who, we have a Facebook group with about 11,000 people. It's probably the largest Facebook group in network marketing. We have people constantly commenting and interacting, and we have rules in the Facebook group, of what people are allowed to do and what people aren't allowed to do. One of the rules that we post in there, and it says the rules, by the way, right at the top, is no complaining. Right? And we get people in there occasionally. And keep in mind, folks, the amount of success that we have going on around us all the time is so unbelievable and so positive and so empowering. It's ridiculous. I mean, this month, our top 100 people at Empower, and folks, we've only got a few people in this thing. We've only been around for 8 months. Everybody in our top 100 is going to make over $3,000, folks. That's 100 people who are making more than an average American income. An average family of 4 in America makes $30,000 a year. $3,000 a month is $36,000 a year. This month, we're going to have 33 people make over $8,500. That's that's $100,000 a year income. This month, folks, we're going to have 13 people make over $20,000. We got some ridiculous stories. And, all the stories, all the success comes from the exact same stuff that people are doing. It's the most predictable thing in the universe. We tell people a simple formula on how to succeed, where to get the tools and resources, the excuses that people come up with, and how to overcome them in yourself, right? We tell them exactly what to do. We give them assignments all through the day. And one guy's making $20,000 a month, another guy's making $25 a month because he's got a stinking stupid attitude. And people say, well, I've been in for a month, and I've written 3 blog posts and I ain't rich yet. Why isn't it working? Well, first of all, it's not working because you're complaining in front of all your prospects, right? Think about this, folks. Let's say I've got 10 really great prospects and you've got 10 really great prospects. And for me, I'm standing in front of my prospects and I say, this is unbelievable. We've got 100 people making $3,000 a month. We've got 14 people making over $20,000 a month. There's a lady in Australia, right, who has spinal disease and she made $33,000 her first 3 months. This is awesome. And they say, how's it working? I say, I don't know. Just get in the deal and stop being a weenie, right? Versus with you, and you're standing in front of your prospects, and they say, so what is this thing? You say, I don't know, but it's not working. And then you're wondering why nobody joins. Well, because you're being a moron. That's why. Right? The second you stop and take responsibility and decide to project out into the world what you want to create in the world, you're going to get a very different result. And you know what happened when my sponsoring changed for me? This is back actually in 2006 offline. Here's what happened. It was amazing. And I still remember the moment when it happened. One moment I woke up and all of a sudden, and I don't know exactly how I came to this belief. Sponsoring had always been difficult. I always had a difficult time making money in this industry. It was not easy for me, right? Then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and unbelievable change. All of a sudden I believed it was easy. I believed I could get anybody in. Hey, don't ask me how it happened. I just decided one day to believe that it was easy. And you know what happened? I started sponsoring 2 to 4 people a month, right? Because that's what I believed was easy. I believed 2 to 4 people per month was easy then, and I started doing it every single month. Exactly what I believed would happen, exactly what I thought was easy, was exactly what happened. But then I was in that thing for a while, never really made tons of money. Built a team, but 1,000 people in network marketing, it pays you $5,000 a month. I mean, we're not talking about getting 100% commissions here like we do in Empower Network, folks, where you can make a significantly larger amount of money than $5,000 a month with 1,000 people. We're talking about a normal network marketing business. You get 2% down 8 million levels, and, it's like $5,000 a month. It's not bad. It's just not tons of money. You need a much bigger team. You need a team of 10,000 or 20,000 people in a normal network marketing business to make tons of cash, right? It's just the way that it is, right? So in any case, right, I'm building this thing. I believe it's easy. But then I went to a seminar, and I met this guy named Tom, right, at the seminar. And Tom had a totally different method of building. He said, you get 2 people a month? I said, well, yeah, that's what I'm told to do. And he says, I sponsor 2 people a day. I said, God, you got to be on the phone all day. You got to be hitting up every Walmart in town. How do you work that hard? And he says, work that hard? I don't work hard. I just sponsor 2 people a day in an hour or 2 and then call it good and turn off my phone, turn off my computer, and go hang out at the beach and go mountain biking. And it blew my mind because here I was in a month producing what he produced every day, and it took me 2 hours a day for a month to produce what he produced in an hour or 2, right? So all of a sudden it shook up my model of the world a bit. See, I had transformed from not being able to sponsor at all to all of a sudden being able to sponsor 2 people a month, but then all of a sudden in a moment, something happened to me where I believed that it was possible to sponsor 2 people a day. Now, I didn't believe I could do it yet because it was so ridiculous. It was so retardedly above what I was able to do. It was so much more production than I was able to accomplish. It blew my mind, and I could not comprehend how a man could accomplish in an hour or 2 what it took me a month to accomplish. I mean, think about this for folks. A month of part-time work, now granted it is part-time, 2 hours a day for a month, say 15 hours a week, it's like 60 hours a month. So it took me 60 hours of me working to accomplish what this man accomplished in an hour or 2 every day, right? So 20 times a month, he did what I did once in a month. And it blew my mind. So all of a sudden, my mind was stretched on what was possible. Now, I didn't know how he did it, but, I tried learning, and it didn't make any sense to me at the time, But all of a sudden, my brain just got ripped open a little bit. You ever had that happen to you where you see something happen, and you just say, "How? What just happened?" Right? That's where I was. I was like, here's a guy who does not seem very smart. Now, you got to meet Tom one of these days. He might come out to our Costa Rica thing. But Tom is like a normal guy, right? He's like a normal guy, right? But anyways, I got out of the industry for a while. And then I decided to start back up in the summer of '09. But this time I remembered this Tom guy. See, last time I had done the business, I'd gotten 2 people a month, and it took me a lot of struggle. To build a team of 1,000 people took me forever. But I had met a guy, and I believed it was possible somehow, some way. I didn't understand marketing. I didn't understand direct response. I didn't understand SEO or any of this stuff. I still don't understand most of it, to be truthful, right? I just make a lot of money from it, right? But I believed that it was possible to sponsor 2 people a day. But here's what happened, and this was a differentiating moment in my life, is I started working and I started, playing around on the internet. And I got to a space where I looked back at the amount of money that I made. It was like a month or something like this. And I think my first month I made $15. I was earning this weeny little itsy-bitsy, teensy-weensy commission, itty-bitty nonsense, right? Anyways, it took me like a month to get a sale. And I finally got a sale, and I was excited for about 2 seconds until I looked at the commission. It was like, I think $5 or something like that, $15, something like this. It was like $15, right? I was like, oh, man. And then I sat there and actually, I did the negatron thing, right? I was a negatron for about an hour and a half because I sat there and I calculated all the hours that I had worked. And then I divided it, but, I divided $15 into it. And it worked out to be, it was like a penny an hour, right? And then I just sat there fuming negative all stinking day. Fuming mad, negative. I couldn't do anything. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. I'm going to go get a job and just work at Safeway for the rest of my life. That's how I felt, right? And then I had tears coming down my face, and I was just mad all day because I'd worked a whole month, right, for that $15. A month of work. A month, folks. That'd make almost anybody quit, right? It took me 8 months to make that in Amway, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time, right? So I suppose I made it a month, but it took me 8 the first time I tried. But anyways, I was curled up to my wife that night. I was tears down my face, and she says, "What are you mad about?" And I just was infuriated. And I says, "I think I'm going to quit this stupid thing and go work at Starbucks or something, and just have a stupid $8 an hour job and just I hate this." I was mad. I don't know if you've ever just been fuming mad like that. And she looked over and she said, "Don't you ever?" Because she says, "Here's the deal. Is this your dream?" I said, "Well, yeah." She says, "Don't ever quit your dream." So I don't care if you make $2 a month, for the next 5 years. If it's your dream, you better do it. You want to take a break, but don't ever quit. Not because it's hard, right? And it made me make a decision that I was going to do it right then. Right? Have you ever been in that spot where you made a decision that you're going to take action right then? You made a decision that you're going to get all in. You made a decision that you're going to take action. Well, I made a decision. I said, I'm just going to make it happen. And I remember I woke up the next day and I said, that's it, period. I'm going to sponsor 2 people a day. And all of a sudden something changed where I believed it was going to happen for me. I believed it was going to happen for me. I believed it, and I started acting and talking like it was already happening. I believed it, and I started acting and talking like it was already happening. I started acting as if I was going to sponsor 2 people a day. Now, I just believe, for whatever reason, that by sponsoring 2 people a day, that I'd be making $30,000 a month in 90 days. Don't ask me why I believed it. I just believed it. Now, that did not make any sense in the businesses that I was in because that was not true, right? You wouldn't make that much money doing that because you earned weeny little itsy-bitsy, teensy-weensy, tiny commissions, right, that are not enough to feed a child beans every day. That's about how much money it made. But for some reason, all the rules broke. All of them broke. Why? Because what you believe tends to happen. Don't ask me why it works like that. It's just the way that it is. When you act in accordance with a belief, even if that belief is not yet appear in your world, what happens is, and don't ask me how it happens, and don't ask me why it happens, because the truth is, I don't know, and I don't care why it happens. It's just the way that it is. When you believe something and you act as if it's true, what happens somehow, some way, magically, what happens is what you believe it just happens. It just happens. Right? So you know what happened to me? I believed the next morning I was going to start sponsoring 2 people a day. Well, I didn't do it that day, and I went to bed. And then I woke up the next day and I believed I would do it. And I didn't do it the next day and I went to bed. And then I woke up the next day and I believed I would do it. And it didn't happen that day, but I sponsored a person. The next 2 or 3 weeks I sponsored 15 people. Still wasn't 2 a day, right? Within 30 days from the time I made that decision, I was sponsored my first 2-person day. And then I sponsored 1 the next day. And then I sponsored 3 the next day. And then I sponsored 2 the next day. And then I sponsored 4 the next day. And then I sponsored 2 the next day. And I started making $500 a day and $600 a day and $800 a day. And all of a sudden what used to take a month started taking an hour. And all of a sudden what used to take 3 months started taking a minute or 2. And what happened was, like clockwork, exactly like I believed would happen. 90 days later I had my first 30,000 month. And why did it happen? It happened because I believed that it would before it did. Remember that. See, a lot of people, they're saying, well, why isn't it working for me? And they've got a dark negative cloud surrounding them, like Eeyore, right? You ever seen Winnie the Pooh? You're like Eeyore if that's you. And he's got a dark negative cloud. Imagine somebody with their shoulders slumped, looking down at their feet saying, would you please look at my business? It's really cool. Well, of course you're not getting any results. Look at yourself. Stand up, look in the mirror, and take responsibility. There's a guy in our Facebook group today, and I'm going to talk to you because you're probably on the call, and just hear me out here for a second. He says, well, when I see that, I'm going to get in for the, I don't really have a lot of money, and when I see that the $25 level works, and then I'll upgrade, right? And I'm sure he wasn't saying it all whiny like that, and that's okay, right? However he was saying it was fine, because we've all taken our own crap before, right? But you know the truth? You know the truth? He says, well, I'm going to see if it's going to work. You know what that means? It means he doesn't believe it'll work. Well, folks, you can have the coolest thing in the world. The coolest thing in the world. The easiest thing in the world. You can have the easiest way to make money in the world. Right? And if you don't believe it'll work, it won't. You want to know why? There's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. Now, I don't know why somebody called it that, because it's the stupidest word I've ever heard in my life for something really simple. But this is basically what it is. It's the thing in your mind that proves to you that what you believe is true. You ever notice that? I mean, this is the easiest thing you could ever... Look at somebody who believes that something's true, and everything in their life proves it to them. It doesn't matter what it is. They could believe that God is a pink elephant. It doesn't matter. They're going to find all this proof in the universe that God is a pink elephant, right? They could believe that anything, and your mind will prove whatever it is that you believe, right? It's one of these fascinating things. I've had some really interesting experiences with this, and the more ADD you are, the more fascinating your experiences tend to be with your reticular activating system. But this is what happens. Whatever you believe about the world, your mind will seek through all the data coming in through your 5 senses, and it will find reasons why what you believe is true, and it will prove it to you again and again and again and again and again and again and again. That's how your mind sorts through information. Now, this is why your mind sorts through information like this. There's a purpose for that. The reason why you do that, and I want you to hear me out, because this is important for understanding why stinking thinking fucks up your life. It does. It screws you up. This is why it screws you up. It's because every moment of every single day through your 5 senses, you take in so much information that if you paid attention to all of it, it would drive you nuts. And the truth is, most of it's not useful for you anyways. So your unconscious mind handles almost everything in your life all the time. Your heart's beating, you're breathing, you're feeling things underneath your feet, you're feeling things in your hands. You're seeing so many things you don't pay attention to, it's unbelievable. Your mind replaces what you're actually seeing with symbols of it so you can keep track of data more efficiently, because your mind will only bring to your attention what's actually useful for you. You take in about 2 million bits of information simultaneously 24 hours a day, and you want to know how many you consciously process. You consciously process 5 to 7 bits of information at any given time through the day, and you're taking in 2 million. You know what happens to the other almost 2 million? You know what happens to almost all the information that you see in your life? You delete it. You distort it. You generalize it. You make generalizations about life. You make something look like it's like something that it's not. You ever walk by in the forest and you see a stick that looks like a snake? It's because your mind replaced what was there with a symbol that it thought looked like it. It happens all the time in life. And somebody who wakes up and they watch the news and they think about how negative their life is, and they think about how negative their job is, and they think about how they can't do it, and they think about how hard it is, and how I haven't gotten any results in the last month, what happens is your mind will seek to prove to you that this is hard, you're a failure, and you can't do it. You realize that? So step one is believe you can do it. Now, fascinating experience I had the other month. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this phenomenon here in a second, because it really is interesting watching the moment when somebody changes. Watching the moment when somebody breaks through. The shift in their face that happens when somebody creates a breakthrough. It's unbelievable when you can actually be in that moment with somebody and you can actually see the moment when their life transforms. Because literally at any moment, any time in your life, in 1 second, right now, as you're listening to this call, you can make a decision that you're going to do it. And from now on, the world will change. It's the way that it works, guys. Right? And it's amazing when you see that happen in somebody's eyes. It's amazing when you see it happen. So Justin and his wife Dee, we invited them because they live in Costa Rica. I mean, he's been marketing online, never made the money that he deserved, always been a super intelligent guy, super smart. Like, he sponsored hundreds of people the last year, and was on the phone all day, doing three-way calls for measly little, commissions. And it's okay, right? He just was working all day and night and never making the money that he deserved. Well, I don't know exactly what moment it was, but I'm going to tell you what I saw happen. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to look at yourself and take responsibility and make a decision, right? So he comes down and we're hanging out. I think the month before he made $5,000 or something, which is more than he made, I think, ever on the internet or something like that. It's like $5,000 or $6,000. I think total maybe $8,000. He made more money than he'd ever made from listening to stuff that I told him to do. And he came around me. And he literally could not believe how little I worked and how I did exactly what I told everybody to do. So he came out and hung out with me, and he was expecting me to be just working all day. Now, to be fair, sometimes I do work all day. What happens is I go in spurts. Like, I'll have a week where I work all day because I get an idea and I get all crazy about it, and I'll have like 3 weeks where I do virtually nothing. Right? And then sometimes, I'll feel like I should be working, so I'll sit there and refresh the screen all day. But the reality is, what I do does not require massive, unbelievable amount of work because I have a lot of things outsourced, right? I don't need to be doing everything, right? So he literally could not believe how much money, how I was signing people up on autopilot, how I wasn't working very much, and he was like, this is unbelievable. It was unbelievable to him sitting there watching me. I tell people to read every day, and every single day he'd see me pick up a book and sit there reading for half an hour. He's like, you actually do what you tell people to do, right? Why do I read every day? I read every day because I realize that my mind will prove that what I believe, and so if I put trash in my mind, I'm going to have a trashy life and a trashy universe around me because my mind is going to seek for the 5 to 7 bits out of that 2 million that's coming in my brain all the time for the negative trash that's going to make me be a hoser in life, right? So he says that he sees me and he says, I can't believe it. He says, look at people are signing up every day. And all of a sudden, here's what happened. He believed he could do it. Because he looked at me, he looked at what I was doing, and it's not that difficult. It's just not. It's not that hard, guys. It's not that difficult. It's difficult because you believe that it is. Your mind is seeking for the information to prove that it's hard. It's seeking for the information that brings you pain. It's seeking to prove to you what happened to you for the last 5 years is going to happen for the next 5, and the past does not govern your future. It's not the way that it is. At any moment, in an instant, your life can turn around. You can decide in this moment right now that your life's going to turn around. You can let go of all that trash in the past because you know what? The past doesn't even equal now. Right now is an independent moment in time that's never existed before and never exist again. And the reality is that right now you can rise up inside yourself and you can say, that's it, I'm in. And life changes. So anyways, I don't know when it happened, but I'll tell you exactly what did happen. He was, we went to this waterfall, and I've told this story like 8 times because it's such a useful story, and now it's like turned into this metaphor because what happened afterwards. So we go to this waterfall, these people come up to do yoga with us and stuff like this. I do yoga occasionally, not too often. And then we went to this waterfall, it was a new one, and it had this riptide pushing against the back we didn't see. And you guys can watch the video on the site. It's the Almost Drowned blog post on PowerNetwork.com. And somewhere around 15 minutes in that video, he gets caught in this current, pushed up against the wall, and you can see him flailing. And then I realized that he's actually like almost drowning. And then I went, and then I almost drowned, kind of grabbing him and throwing him away from the wall. But he was about 30 seconds away from dead. Okay, and I don't know if you guys have ever been drowning before, or you're swallowing in water and you can't breathe and your arms are just going everywhere and you're just going crazy and your brain, is starting to kind of shut off a little bit like that, and you're literally, your last breath of energy has just been exhausted, right? But it's one of the scariest things ever because you feel like you're going to die and you have no control. And I've been in situations like that before several times in my life where things have happened and it was like a moment from death. Like I was up in Alaska growing up, I remember, and I was driving in my car and I hit a patch of black ice going a little bit too fast because, I was a teenager. It was the last accident I've been in. I was 16 years old. Haven't been in an accident since then, thank God. But I was driving my car, and I hit a patch of black ice, and I slid in T-bone towards this intersection. And all of a sudden, I realized I could die at any moment because I knew I wasn't going to be able to stop. I knew that I was going to slide out in the intersection. I didn't know if a car was coming. I didn't know if a semi was coming because that road, the speed limit's 50 miles an hour. So if something hit me, it's going to be going 50 miles an hour. Then I black out and I wake up. About a half an hour later, my head had broken through the side of the window, had my seatbelt on, and the school bus had T-boned the car right in front of my feet. I didn't get hurt. None of the kids got damaged. A couple of them had bruises on their heads, but they were all okay, right? And I realized 1 second of difference in speed, and that school bus would have T-boned me at 50 miles an hour right into my side. In a moment, your life can change. In one moment, your life can change. In one moment, your life can turn around. In one moment, you can stand up and say, enough's enough! I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being broke. I'm sick and tired of listening to my stupid boss when I know I can be free right now. I'm sick and tired of going through pain and suffering in my life when I know that I can rise up and be all who I can be. And sometimes in life, you got to reach down inside yourself. You got to find something inside yourself that you didn't know that you had. And when you find that thing inside yourself, and sometimes it's just a little humility, and you say, you know what, Dave, I believe you, and I believe you that it's easy. All of a sudden, it's not just you that changes, the universe transforms. Because you decided to take action and you decided to believe that you're responsible for your own destiny, that God isn't making you poor, the universe isn't making you poor, it's not that your parents didn't believe in that you were a kid, it's not that you're not educated enough, it's not that you haven't been through the pain and the experience to learn it, it's the fact that you are creating exactly what's in your life right now, and if you don't like it, it's pretty easy to just stop and create something new. And you could do that even as we're speaking now. And the moment you do that, everything will change. Your marketing will change. Now, this is the interesting thing about the reticular activating system, the way the brain highlights information, is that literally there are thousands of differences between success and failure all through the day, but they're tiny things, not big things. And this is something that I picked up maybe a year or two ago when I was trying to figure out how I could explain to somebody on a napkin exactly what to do. They would do it, and sometimes it just wouldn't work for them. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? Why is this not working for somebody? Why is this person, they're taking this, they're trying to do it, and it's not working, right? But then here's what happened is I was talking to my buddy Rob Ford, and he said, Dave, one of the things I do is, he says, I take all your audios and videos, and I send them over to this company in the Philippines, and they transcribe them for me, and I read them. And I circle all the things that you do, the weird stuff with your voice and your language. It's really, really interesting and weird. And I said, oh, yeah, whatever, Rob, right? So just the other week, I get a sales letter transcribed, right? Where I'm just talking. And guys, I don't plan any of this. I don't sit there and I don't think for hours. I just believe that when I get up there, before I stand up and before I speak to somebody, before I give a communication, if I'm creating a sales video, I'll write my intent out. I say, this video is going to convert 25% of the audience, and I'll stand there and look myself in the eye, and I'll say, I command my unconscious mind to take over this presentation now and convert 25% of the people that see this into sales, and it's happening right now as I speak. And then I'll give the presentation. And for some reason, it magically does exactly what I want it to do. I don't know why, right? Maybe it's because I've done thousands of presentations before I learned how to do them successfully, or I've listened to thousands of audios. Don't ask me why it works. It's just that my mind takes it over and it works, right? I was like, yeah, whatever, Rob. I had this video transcribed, and I read the thing, and I talked like a damn sales letter in it. And it was just a free-flow, unconscious thing where I'm just talking. And then I realized something, that there's so many differences between success and failure, you can't do it consciously, right? And people say, well, why aren't I succeeding? I'm trying. Because you don't believe it, right? Because here's what happens is the moment when you decide to step into your power, the moment when you reach down inside yourself and make a decision, the moment you say, enough's enough, I'm going to meet you guys in San Diego no matter what it takes, I'm going to bring a team with me of 100 people, the moment you look yourself in the mirror and you say, it's easy for me too, the moment you look at Chris Darty and you say, if that bald guy can do it, I can do it, the moment you look at Christina Munoz down in Australia and say, if a woman with spinal disease can do it, I can do it, the moment you look at Tracy Walker and you can say, if that girl can do it, I can do it, the moment you look at Matt Zeiden who dropped out of high school and you say, if that guy can do it, I can do it too, the moment you do that, the moment you see Lawrence making $50,000 a month, and rather than criticizing, rather saying, oh, he was in at the right time, place at the right time, and I'm not in the right place at the right time because I'm not in the pre-launch, I'm going to look for a pre-launch. The moment you look at it and you say, congratulations, and if you can do it, I'm going to tear things up, life all of a sudden in that moment transforms, and you step into your power, and you stop being a wussy. It's amazing how you just stop with the wussy and you step into the power. At that exact moment, your life transforms, and your unconscious mind will change 1,000 things that you do through the day that you're not aware of. Your heart rate will change. Your voice will change. Your inflection will change. The way that you sell will change. Your passions of videos will change. All of a sudden, you'll be standing in that same group of 5 people, and you'll look in the eye, and they'll say, what is this thing? And you'll say, I don't know what it is. It's the most badass thing I've ever seen in my life, and you're getting in the deal. And they'll join. It'll be amazing what will happen to you the moment you decide, just like you're maybe doing right now. So a couple suggestions for everybody on this call, different groups of people, and I know this is a little bit different tonight, folks, but I just wanted to kind of reach out into you tonight and just tell you I love you, you know? I want you guys to succeed so bad it's unbelievable. I want you guys to live your dreams, and, you know, I always talk about this, guys. I didn't start doing this thing because I wanted to be the richest person. I started doing this thing because I wanted the richest team. I want you guys to be the most prosperous group in the history of network marketing. So there's a couple groups of people on this call. Number one, those who ain't in Empower Network, and after this call, of course, you have no clue what it is if you haven't seen it before, but here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you to just go find a link and just get in. Just get in. Why? Because we're the coolest damn group of people in the direct sales industry. That's it, period. There is no cooler group of people to be around in network marketing. There's no group of people that's going to let people swear in the conference calls, and simultaneously, if somebody's a church-going Christian person, I don't care if somebody preaches in a conference call because we accept everybody here. It doesn't matter whether they're gay, it doesn't matter whether they're straight, it doesn't matter whether they're married or not, it doesn't matter whether they're a Christian or an atheist, it doesn't matter whether they're black or white, it doesn't matter whether they're Chinese or American. I don't care about their ethnic background, I don't care how tall they are, I don't care whether they have spinal disease or not, I don't care whether they're disabled or not, they're empowered here, they're accepted here, and they can do it, period, the second that they decide, because we accept you all. There is no cooler group, that's it, period. And also, you're never going to find a group of people like this who want you to not just make money, but also want you to have a life at the same time. And we enact no strategy to keep you a slave here in Empower. You are free to do anything you want to do. Look, a lot of times you're going to get involved with a group of people, and the second you start marketing something other than what they recommend, they shun you like you're the black sheep. Well, you know what? Here at Empower Network, you're allowed to do whatever the heck you want to do. I don't care what else you're marketing. I don't care what else your product is. It's great. Whatever it is, let's help you sell that more, sell that better, and succeed here, and we'll help you make an extra $30,000 a month here too. So I don't care where you are in the world, who you are, what your background is. Don't be a wussy. Just get in and make a decision right now that you're going to do it. The other group of people are people that are in power, but you ain't all in yet. You haven't made a decision to cross over that line, and some of you made that decision tonight. You haven't made a decision that you're really in the game. You said, I'm going to poke my toe in the water, and I'm going to see if it works. You know what I'm going to see if it works means, folks? It means I am going to not believe that it's going to work, because the only reason you would say that, there's only one reason you would say that, is because you don't believe it's going to work. Maybe you've had failure your whole life. Maybe your father beat you as a kid. Maybe you were abused as a child. Maybe you failed in your last 5 jobs. Maybe you've been looking for a job for 6 months and you're just here because you're desperate or whatever. And maybe you're here because you've made $1 million a year in network marketing. You say, well, I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to get my toe in the water. You know what that means? It means you might as well not bother. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're going to dip your toe in the water, you ain't know what the water's like unless you get full immersion. You gotta go all in. You gotta go all in, heart and soul, and decide that no matter what, you're gonna do it. Why do I know that? I know because the moment I decided to do that in my own life, that very second, my life transformed. That second, it was amazing how my life transformed the very second I decided to go all in, and I stopped taking excuses. And I said, okay, Is there a product I need? Somebody says yes. I say, what is it? Here's my credit card. I wasn't asking whether I could afford it. I wasn't asking how much money it cost. I wasn't asking, well, I don't know, I want to dip my toe in the water because I've already done that. I've done it for years. I dipped my toe in the water and it didn't work. But the second I decided to go all in and to make a decision, to make a commitment, to stick to my vision, that very second, not only did I change, but here's the magic, and I don't know why this happens, and maybe it's this faith thing, and faith affects the world, and maybe it's a science thing, and maybe you affect the subatomic world around you or something like that. I don't know how it works, but the second I changed, so did the world. All of a sudden, prospering was easy. All of a sudden, money flowed to me like a river. All of a sudden, prospects were banging at my door with their credit cards to join. All of a sudden, people were throwing money at me on stage. I have a video where hundreds of people are throwing money at me on stage. All of a sudden, I would spend money, and the next day in my bank account, twice as much would be deposited in my bank account. All of a sudden, when I changed, the world changed around me. Why? Because that's what happens, folks. It's the way that it is. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's the reticular activating system. Maybe that's a bunch of bullshit, and it just, maybe none of the world exists, but what you believe exists. Don't ask me how it works. It just does. So make a decision to go all in and stop sitting on the sidelines. Stop sitting on the fence and watching all the other people play the game. You know what you're doing? You're like in a football game, and the coach is saying, come on, come play, and you say, no, I just want to sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else play. You got to lay all your chips on the table. You got to lay them all down. Because in this game, in the game of life, unless you get all in the game of life, unless you're all in heart and soul and vision, unless you speak your vision and act in accordance as if it's going to happen no matter what, period, you know what happens? Exactly what you think is going to happen, which is you think you're going to fail. You know what the best way to prove, this is an interesting principle, okay? I was listening to a Tony Robbins course a long time ago. Okay? I started listening to Tony Robbins stuff when I was a kid. So I had all this success information in my brain, even through all these years of failure, right? Because I started listening to stuff when I was a little kid. I was listening to this Tony Robbins course, and he said, you know what the best way to prove to your unconscious mind that there's more than enough for you is, and to start prospering your life. You know what the best way to prove it is? And I was expecting something mystical, mad, set goals, visualize, that kind of a thing. I was a kid, I was like 15. I was like, oh, I'm curious what it is. And you know what he said? And I'll never forget this because I was like, come on, stop. He said, give 10% of your income away. Give it away. Take 10% of your income, give it away. Said they do it in church, they call it tithing. I said they do it in charities. I don't care who you give it to. Give it to homeless people. Doesn't matter who it's to. Take part of your income and just give it away. And I was like, just stop. But you know what? I started thinking about that. And there's no way possible, there's not a possible way to give a percentage of your income away without simultaneously believing that there's more than enough for you. It's not possible. It's literally not possible to do. Try giving part of your money away and then simultaneously at the exact same time believing that there's not enough for you. It's literally impossible because your mind will not let you give away what you need to survive. So if you want to believe there's more than enough, he said, well, give part of your income away. But that's interesting because it's kind of like being all in. It's kind of like being all in the game. Because, the reality is there's not a better way to prove to yourself that you believe that it works than to step over the line and say, I'm just getting all in, I'm going for it like there ain't nothing else. Some people say, well, you need to diversify your life. And, you can diversify later. That's the truth. You can diversify your energy later. Folks, you don't have enough energy to diversify your energy. You want to talk to an investment advisor about how to get rich slow over a really, really, really long time in your life and to be old and desperate by the time you're rich, well then, go listen to a broke investment advisor that sits there in a caged cubicle all day giving investment advice to other people that have more money than them, and that's a great way, to get rich really, really, really slow and painful. But I'm telling you, there's no better way to prove to your mind that you can do it, to prove to yourself that you can do it, than making a decision, no matter what the external circumstances, that you're going all in financially. You're going all in emotionally, right? That you're going to do everything that you're taught to do. That you're going to put everything on the blinders. That you're going to wake up in the morning believing 2 days is easy, and you're going to go to bed believing it's easy, and you're going to wake up the next day, regardless of what happens in the physical world, you're going to believe it's easy. There's no better way to show to yourself than by being all in the game. That's why we talk about being all in Power Network, because it's a powerful emotional concept, and when you do it, life transforms. Life transforms. Right? So next thing I've got for you that you need to do. Step 1, get in. Step 2, get all in. Step 3, follow the 8 core steps. We have 8 steps here at Empower that are essential for your success. And some people say, well, I'm doing 6 of them. Okay, then be poor. Fine. I don't care. Right? Why don't I care? Because I told you, and I'm free. Right? I told you what you need to do, and if you're not doing it, that's your fault. It's not my fault. Right? If I tell you exactly what to do and you don't do it, I have full confidence that I've given you all that I can give. So I'm telling you exactly what to do, and it's your choice of whether to do it or not. I didn't listen for years, and I failed for years. But you know what's interesting is the stuff that really makes me the most money today is stuff I learned back in 2002, 2004 from people that had private jets and made millions of dollars a year in private conversations that I didn't listen to, but it was still there in my mind. It was just waiting for the decision and the lights to turn on. So I know that I'm giving you value because those guys, I spent a bunch of money with those guys, and you know what? I never made any money, but all of a sudden when I made a decision, everything they said happened exactly the way they said it would happen. All of a sudden, in a moment, everything changed. So I know that I'm giving you all that I can give, so I'm okay with your decision. I'm okay if you decide or not. I'm okay if you get all in or not. I'm okay if you decide to be positive and that you're going to do it, period, or not, because I know that there's a percentage of people on this call that heard this and they say, is that it? And I say, absolutely, yes, this is it. And they say, that's it, I'm all in, I'm doing it, period. And it's you who I'm talking to tonight. It's the person on this call. Maybe there's one of you, maybe there's 2, maybe there's 5, but you are who I'm talking to, and I'm telling you to believe me right now. I'm telling you to step over that line emotionally and make a decision to get all in emotionally, physically, financially, everything in the game. And if you do that, you will win, period, because I don't care if there's a brick wall with spikes on it in front of you, you'll break it down with your forehead because that's the way the universe works, is exactly what you believe will happen is what exactly tends to happen in your life. I don't know why, just the way it is. So step 1, get in. Step 2, get all in. Step 3, follow the 8 core steps. They're in the Fast Start training. The first training there, probably the most important thing we have back there because it tells you how to change your life. Those 8 steps, if you follow them every day, it is impossible to do that stuff. It is impossible to do that stuff without succeeding over a period of time. If you do that stuff every day, it will root out the negative bullshit in your life that keeps you from being who you want to be. That's what the 8 steps are there for. Now, the next thing is focus on 2 a day. Focus on 2 a day. Believe that 2 a day is easy and focus like everything on it because I'm telling you that that's what you got to do. Get 2 people a day. Now, I'm not talking about once a month, try to bring in one day, 40 people or 60 people or whatever in one day because there's barely anybody who can do it. But if you focus with all your intention on bringing 2 customers a day in at the $25 blogging package and then working with those, that's something that anybody can do. And I'm telling you something, even if you've struggled your entire life in other things, this is not other things, this is the Empower Network, you can get 2 a day here, period. And I don't care if you're a one-legged, one-armed midget wearing a bikini in a fanny kicking contest simultaneously while blogging online with your free arm, you can still get 2 a day because it literally is the easiest thing that I've ever been in my life. I just happen to co-create this one. Right? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have spinal bifida because Christina Munoz has spinal bifida and somehow she's getting 2 a day. I don't care if you have cancer because, we have people who have cancer here who are still doing it, who are using this to pay for their cancer payments. Okay? I don't care if you're blind. Why? Because somehow, some way, we had a blind gal get an Empower Network who's making money and making it happen. So I don't care what your excuse is because if those people can do it, it's literally just an excuse. Focus on 2 a day. The next thing is be at the San Diego event. Look, we're going to talk about it. And, there's people who are in Empower who are like, yeah, it's just another event. No, it's not another event. Yeah, it's one of those boring company events. No, it's not another company event, guys. This is something that you will not have an opportunity to repeat at another event. There's an experience you will have there. There is a breakthrough that you will have there if you will go to that event and make a decision to be there and stop messing around. Look, one of the core commitments is to attend all of the events. It doesn't mean some of them. It doesn't mean whatever one you feel like. It means all of them. Why do we say all of them? Well, here's the truth. Here's what I know. I know that there's a percentage of people who will attend all the events. And every event they attend, you will see that group of people get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Because this is not a pitch event. We are not there to pitch you stuff for 3 days. We're there with one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to create in you the person that you've always wanted to be. And we can do that in 3 days, and it's something I can't do in a conference call. I can teach you and download into you in 3 days what I can't teach you in 18 months of conference calls, what I can't teach you in an hour a day of audios for 6 months. You will be 6 months ahead of everybody that doesn't go to the event. If you go to that event, you will have experiences, relationships, and transformations there that there is no way to replicate through webinars. There's no way to replicate through trainings. There's no way to replicate through conference calls. There's no way to replicate unless you just go. And I'm telling you to go. And I don't care what your excuse is, because we have people flying in from all over the world to go. There's only one person in Empower Network that has a legitimate excuse not to go, and it's because they literally can't move, and they can't get out of bed, and they're not allowed to get on a plane, and they literally can't go. That's the only person in Empower Network with 37,000 people, and she's in Australia, and she's still making $11,000 a month. She's the only person in the company that has a legitimate excuse not to go. Everybody else, I don't care what your weenie little excuse is. I'm just going to call it a wuss bag excuse and call it what it is. You need to go. Here's why you need to go. I was in a company a few years back with Eric Worre. Now, a lot of you guys don't know Eric. He runs a company called Network Marketing Pro. One of the most genius people I ever met in my life, and just everybody likes him. He's just a cool guy, right? He's just a cool guy. And been my friend for years. He was the first person that taught me how to sponsor. I snuck into a meeting he was doing when I was in Amway, and he was teaching prepaid legal stuff back in the day. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I snuck in this thing, and then he said something, and I went out and I did it, and it worked. It was amazing. And I liked Eric ever since. But anyways, he said something, and he did something at this event, and it blew my mind. It blew my freaking mind, okay? And I'll never forget it. He says, here's what happens. He says, you go to an event, and a lot of people, I said, who's going to be at the next one? Everybody raised their hand. He says, liars. He says, here's what's going to happen. Half of you will go to the next one. Right? Half of you who say you'll go to the next one will go to the next one. So we have 1,000 people in the room. 500 of those will be the next one. No matter if all of you say you're going to go, no matter what you say, he says, I know. He's been around the industry for a while. He says, half of you will be the next one. He says, but there will be another, 1,000 that'll go too. So our event will be bigger, even though not everybody here will go. He says, half of you will. He says, and then it'll be 1,500 here. And then the 1,500 there, everybody will say they'll go to the next one, and then 700 will go to the next one. He says, it'll keep dividing in half. He says, but here's the interesting thing. The half keeps dividing, and the people who go to every event, they keep dividing in half, and he says the longer you keep going to the events, the higher your income is. And he says, I'll prove it to you. And this blew my freaking mind, guys, and I'm telling you something, that there is no excuse that's good to not go. You need to go. Now, right now, you can log into your back office, hit the button that says Fight the Forces of Evil, and buy your tickets to that event. But here's what he did that blew my mind. He said, how many people in here were also at the last event? Because obviously, there's a room of like 1,000 people, right? And they'd have like 8 events or something. Or, they'd been around for a couple of years. They didn't have their first event have 1,250 like we had. Their first event had like 200 people or something like that. And now we had like 1,000 or 1,500. So how many people were at the last event? And it was predictable. It was like half the room. He said, okay, half the room. Okay? He says, now watch. He says, how many people in this group you've at least earned a check? And virtually everyone who had been to 2 events had at least earned some kind of a check, right? And he says, now how many of you have earned, 1,000 a month? And there's a higher percentage of them. It was like a 30% of them had earned $1,000 in a month, right? And he says, okay, now if you've been to 3 events, stay standing, okay? And half the people sat down. Said 3 events, stay standing, right? And he says, now, how many of you guys have earned at least $1,000 a month? Now, keep in mind, folks, they don't earn 100% commissions. It was like weeny little teensy weensy, itsy bitsy, teeny little wussy commissions, right? And you know what was interesting? It's like 80 or 90% of the hands went up, the people that had made $1,000 a month. He said, how many people have been to 4 events, stay standing? About half the people sat down. Okay, so these are people that have been to 4 events, right? And he says, how many of you are making $3,000 a month or more? 90% of them. Unbelievable, right? 90% of them. I mean, it was almost everyone. And but here's where it started to get nasty. He went to 6 events, or 5 events and 6 events, and he went all the way to 8. That had 8 events at the time. And then he got to 8 events in a row without missing one. And he said, how many of you guys, how many of you are making $20,000 a month or more? All of them that had been there for 8 events straight were making $20,000 a month or more. Every single last one of them. And you know what I saw that? And my belief in events went up a little bit. And I'm telling you something, that there will be people at this event who are also at the last one, and they will be the wealthiest group of people in the room. And then the next one that we do have, and by the way, what we're doing this next time can't be repeated. There will be people who have been to 3 events. And I'm predicting that the people who go to 4 events in a row with Empower Network, that there will be 100% of them making $30,000 a month or more. Now, can I promise that? No. Right? I can't promise anything with income because the government breathes down your neck. But what I will tell you is that I bet that it'll happen. I bet if you go and you just keep coming back and you just keep coming back. What were we chanting the commission countdown? We said keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. Why? Because we know that if you do, we can help you create a breakthrough. And that experience to me was absolutely unbelievable because it proves to me that something so simple that anybody could do works over the long term. And that was with weeny little itsy bitsy teensy weensy commissions that was virtually impossible to build a team with. It was virtually impossible to sell. Right? And it still worked. So what do we got here in Empower Network? Here's what we got. We have got the wealthiest group of people for a little company this size that you're going to find anywhere in the world, period. Right? Why do I say that? Well, because we pay 100% commissions. Now, here's what happened. Right? Now, I'm not knocking anything else because people do lots of things at once here in Power, and we don't give a shit. We're probably the only people in the world that don't care. Somebody else comes and they're doing the other thing. We say, cool, dude, do it. Whatever. Just don't pitch it in our Facebook group. You're good. Do whatever the heck you want. Right? You want to join a vitamin deal? Join the vitamin deal. You want to join a soap deal? Join the soap deal. You want to join Amway? Join Amway. I don't care. We're just going to teach you what works here. And we're not going to worry about what anybody else is doing because people are always more beautiful when they're free. They're always more beautiful when they're free. I want you to do exactly what you want to do. I want you to be free, to have your voice and your spirit and your vision in life, independent from any other man or woman, independent from any other entity. I want you to be free. So you can do whatever you want to do. Isn't it beautiful to be around a group of people that you are free to express your opinions exactly how they are? You know what? You want to get on stage at one of our events and you earn the right to speak at our events by hitting a level where people want to listen to you because of the results that you've produced. If you are that person, right, and you want to create that breakthrough in your life and you want to be there in front of people, I don't care if you swear on stage. I don't care if you talk about your religion on stage. I don't care if you talk about your personal beliefs on stage. I don't care if you wear jeans and a t-shirt. I don't care if you wear a suit and a tie. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you are addicted to drugs and are just getting out of it. I don't care if you've been in recovery for a few years. I don't care if you have been into prison for some crime you committed and you've served your time and you're out. You know what? Because everyone is equal here. It's just about what you do. It's not about the past. It's about right now and the decisions that you make. That's the difference with the Empower Network, because what are we here for? To empower the people, to create a shift in the way the world thinks towards the better. Because you know what, folks? We've been through thousands and thousands and thousands of years of segmented groups of people that all want the world to be like them. And, you know, our generation are sick of it. We're sick of the world wanting us to be like them. We're sick of the people in the baby boomer generation wanting us to be like the baby boomers. Look, baby boomers are great. My dad's a baby boomer, right? Wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be alive. But you know the truth, guys? The truth is we're not like the baby boomers. And the baby boomers aren't like the generation before. And the second that we stop trying to fit the world in a box and we highlight people's gifts and strengths and let them be who they always wanted to be, people's lives change. The spark comes back in their life. You know what happens when time and money stops being an issue for you folks? The world literally changes around you. It becomes your oyster. Because you can literally do what you want to do. And some of you have no clue what it is because you're so used to being told what to do. You're so used to being fit into a box. You're so used to the boss breathing down your neck and the next deadline. You're so used to doing something you were programmed to do in school that is even fun that you don't even like, that there's no way I could convince you to do if you'd ever lived a different kind of a life. You're so used to it that you don't even know anymore what you want to do. You know what time and freedom with money does for you? It sets you free from all that bullshit and you can be who you want to be. It sets you free to think. It sets you free to think. You know, my wife and I were talking, it was 6 months ago or something like that, or 4 months ago, and she says, you know, I've got to just be thankful for this life that we've created through this. And I said, well, you know, what do you mean? And she says, this is the first time in my life where I've actually been able to sit here and to think about what I really want to do. Because I don't really have to worry about stuff like everyone else, like my sisters, like my brothers, like my parents, who always sat there worrying about stuff. Do you know what it'll do for you when you don't have to worry about stuff anymore? Folks, that's what success really is. It's being to a place where you're actually free to think about what you want to think about, independent from any other man or woman or government institution or religion, just you. That's what we are. We're here to create a tidal shift in the way the world thinks. We're here to change the world. We're here to impact people in 1,000 generations to come. Why? Because it's time for that, guys. The world needs it. You know, the world needs you to stand up and be successful, and it needs your gifts. It needs your talents. It needs to be free. People need to hear this message. Why? Because they're locked in a cage, guys. They're a bear locked in a cage that needs to be out in the world hunting fish every day. I remember hearing a story. I'll leave with this. It's about a guy in Amway. His name's Dave Severn. My favorite Amway audio of all time. I love those old Amway tapes, by the way. Sometimes I still drive around listening to them. In fact, when Justin was here, I said, you got to hear this. I just popped this thing in that I'm talking about right now. And he was like, this is the most badass thing I've ever heard in my life. And, listen to this audio. And this guy was talking about his life was just, his life was completely tied to time and money and work and showed up and being a boss. And he'd never thought about the fact, of course, that, well, what would he do if he didn't have to do that? What would you do if you don't have to do any of that? What would you do if you just do whatever you wanted to do? You know what I mean? Which you can't really think about until you're free. It's impossible to think like a free person when you're still not free. Look, if you have to show up at a job tomorrow, because if you don't show up, you're a slave. You're not doing it because you love it. You're doing it because you have to do it. And you have no clue what you would do if you were free. I'm just telling you. So I was talking about this and how he's in this thing, and this guy comes to his house late one night, drove 2 hours through some thick snow up there in Idaho, and he sat down with him and he said, Dave, he says, hurry up and tell me what's up and get out of the house. He says, Dave, I found a way for you to make money hunting geese. And all of a sudden his energy changed and he said, if you show me a way to make money hunting geese, I'm going to be a millionaire. And you know what he said? I always forget this. He says, he did, and I am. And you know what, folks? What I want to do is I want to show you how I don't care about being a millionaire, because honestly, who gives a shit? What really matters and what's really king, honestly, is cash flow independent from time. Being a millionaire doesn't mean nothing. It means you got $1 million sitting there, and there's a lot of old, worn-out millionaires on their fifth marriage. What really matters is cash flow doing nothing. So I want to teach you how to create cash flow doing nothing. Right? And here's what I know. Imagine yourself doing whatever you want to do. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's martial arts. Maybe you just want to go and, train with the Gracies somewhere or something crazy like that, or you want to go be in the UFC or something crazy. Maybe you want to go meditate in Tibet, and or maybe you want to go on a mission to Africa. I don't know what you want to do. But imagine yourself right now in a place where you can think about what you want to do. Maybe it's an ocean, waves coming in, roaring, sand, hot sand under your feet, sunshine, breath, fresh air, perfect crystal blue, coral reef in Belize. There's this big dark cave thing in the coral reef that you can just dive down, and I don't know if anybody knows how deep it is. So many amazing things to see in the world just with your eyes closed. And no matter what your bills are and no matter what your obligations are in life, they're all taken care of plus 5 times what they cost. Doing nothing but sticking your toes in the hot sand. That, my friend, is when you're free to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it with. And it's amazing what you'll come up with and what you really want to do. Maybe you want to do exactly the opposite of what you're doing right now. Maybe you want to do nothing. I don't know what you want to do. I'm here to empower that because we are the Empower Network. It's what we're here to do. Make a decision. So Justin, almost drowning. And then all of a sudden he comes up, starts breathing again. And I don't know what happened under that water. But I know that when he came out, he started making $1,500 a day. When the day before, he was never able to do that ever. And the day after, all of a sudden, $1,500 a day. What happened? Sometimes you got to reach down inside yourself, and you got to find something inside that you didn't know that you had, and that is the moment when the world transforms You are the Empower Network. You are here to be free. You're not here to do it because the government told you to. You're not here to do it because your parents told you to. You're not here to do it because the boss told you to. You're not here to do it because your company thinks it's the right thing to do. You're not here to do it because I'm telling you what to do and I'm being your boss. You're doing it because for some reason, some way, somehow, you're here in this moment knowing that it's the right place to be at the right time with the right vision, and I'm here to help you accomplish that dream because here's what's going to happen and here's what I'm going to create this year. We are going to go into San Diego. We're doing about $3 million a month in sales right now, which in Empower Network means a lot of commissions, all right? I'll just leave it at that. Why? Because we pay 100% commissions. So we're doing a lot of sales. We pay a lot of commissions. We have a lot of people making money. We're doing about $3 million a month in sales. We'll head into San Diego, come into that event September 21st through September 23rd. We'll probably be at about $5 million a month in sales is probably what we'd be doing by the San Diego event. And you know what's going to happen, guys? We're going to come out of that event, and this is my goal. From what I teach you at that event, my goal is to create a new $30,000 per month earner every 24 hours, every single day, until our next event. And you know what? It'll happen, period. Why? Because isn't it interesting how everything I said would happen has happened? Isn't that fascinating? Now, it's not because I'm a prophet, because I'll tell you something, I can't predict the future any more than a beetle. It's because what you believe is what happens. So let's all start believing together. Let's all start acting with one voice and one vision. Let's all start acting in unity. How about that for a change? You know, a lot of people, they complain about the government, they complain about the taxes, they complain about the Republicans, and they complain about the Democrats. But you know what the truth is here, folks? We're all just here to be free, and who cares what party someone is or what religion they are or whatever the heck it is that they are. You're here to be free, and that's it. So why don't we just lock arms and fight the forces of evil? And what are the forces of evil, folks? The forces of evil are the things that keep you oppressed and prevent you from achieving your dreams. The forces of evil are the things that hold you back in life from being who you really can be. The forces of evil are the things in life that prevent you from tapping into your true potential. The forces of evil, folks, are the things that try to oppress you and try to oppress your spirit when your spirit wants to sing. The forces of evil are when you've got a talent that's supposed to be in front of the world because it will change the world. It will be a tipping point for generations to come, and because you're sitting in a cubicle and your boss is telling you what to do, you never even know what the gift is. The forces of our evil are when you're supposed to reach out and you're supposed to inspire another human being. You're supposed to lift them up and take them by the hand and walk them to the promised land, and you don't do it because you're afraid. You don't do it because you're not all in. You don't do it because you haven't made a decision, folks. That's what we need to fight. We need to fight mediocrity. We need to fight lack of decisions. We need to fight, you know what we need to do? We need to lock arms together, fight the forces of evil, and let's march towards the world and towards the universe with one single voice to empower the people, because that's what this company is all about. It is not about the money. There's just more of it here. It's about the people and lifting them up and giving them the power that they've always wanted in their entire life, and that's who you are, friends. You are the Empower Network. This is your vision, and this is your dream. It just so happens that we dream it together, and that's why I'm here. That's why you're here. So let's lift up with one voice that's unstoppable, and we will break down mountains. We will break through brick walls. We will smash our forehead through obstacles that stand in our way, because there is nothing that can stop. There is nothing that can stand in the way. There's nothing that can hold back the power of unity, the power of the people. We've crushed through things that are more oppressive than you could ever imagine in your life. In 1,000 generations of people, what always stands up and what always rises up victorious is the vision, the truth of what the people are here to do, and the people are here with one voice, with one rhythm, and that is to create freedom, the most prosperous, richest, most wealthy team that's ever existed, ever in the direct sales industry, and that's who you are. That's what the Empower Network is. I'm going to unmute the lines now, folks. I want you to get up out of this call, and I want you to just start screaming, let's lock arms, and fight the forces of evil. You guys are badass. I'm unmuting the lines now.
Thanks, Dave. Just do it.